few weeks ago, Dave Castro, the programmer of the CrossFit Games, went on Sevon's podcast, and at some point, Sevon asked him if he thinks that the guys today are fitter than Matt Fraser in his prime.
Are the athletes right now the fittest athletes in the world? Is there someone in the men's division that's fitter than Matt?
I mean, just by looking at the numbers, yeah, they're fitter. The level has evolved.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So like if you
drug
Jason and James back 10 years, they'd be just cleaning house.
I think so, yeah.
Kevin Steiner, peak Matt would destroy these guys.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Dave says a lot of stuff that feels like it's just engagement bait, and so I've kind of learned to just brush off anything he says. Then about a week later, Matt Fraser went on the Boys Interrupted podcast, and they asked him a pretty similar question.
Matt, when you look at like the field and like see some of the workouts or times or things that come out, the thought has to cross your mind, like, how would you do? Because I think about it even like in 2021, there was a max snatch. I snatched 285 and got 5th at the games. And then I just competed at World Fitness Project. I snatched 298. Like all-time PR for me, and got 11th. I also remember I PR'd my clean at another World Fitness Project at 385 and got 11th as well. But then you at the games cleans 385 and wins the workout. Like did you see the progression of athletes and be like, man, people are just getting better?
Now, Justin actually gave some specific numbers there. On top of that, 2 people talking about it in the span of 2 weeks kind of got me second guessing myself a little bit on my confidence in Matt Fraser. It's a pretty nuanced or complex topic because the athletes are different, the programming's different. There's so much different today. It's hard to compare, but there is some validity to what they're saying. The lifts are heavier. The body type of the athlete looks a lot different now than it used to. I mean, Matt Fraser was like 5'6", 200 pounds or something like that. And now, I mean, all of the top 5 or a good majority of the top 5 are well over 6 feet and all over 215. The sport has definitely evolved, but I don't know if I'm willing to say that Matt Fraser wouldn't still dominate today. So I'm going to kind of go through this and look at it in a few different lenses and see what I can come up with. This also kind of feels like a little bit of recency bias. Like, I don't know if you remember how good Fraser was. Like, I think the major differences in body type and max lift is where a lot of this discussion is stemming from. And as I said, the programming's different every year, and I think that's a majority of where this change is coming from. And there's a few reasons for it. One, we can just get this out of the way now because I know it's going to be talked about, but the increase in machines. Like, the fact is, yes, Hopper's going to be better at Fraser on machines because he's, 20 pounds heavier and 6 inches taller. And now that we're using more machines, whether you think that's a good thing or not, it's just a thing, that's going to be better for a bigger guy. There's another portion to this that I think gets very, very overlooked, and that is CrossFit programming has shifted away from things being unbroken and cycle rate mattering, and we've kind of shifted towards you're going to be good at the workout or not, whether you break or not. So there's plenty of workouts early on where it was thrusters at 95 pounds, and everybody was going unbroken, so it was how fast you could do that set of 95-pound thrusters unbroken. It just makes sense that someone who has 6 inches less range of motion is going to go faster on that. And we've kind of shifted away from that. That's why you see like 135-pound thrusters more often than you see 95-pound like you did in the beginning. And so something like that is just going to give more of an advantage to, or maybe not even more of an advantage, but allow for someone like Hopper to express his fitness because it's whether or not you can go unbroken instead of Matt Fraser's just going to move faster because he's shorter. And I actually kind of do agree with this change a little bit in programming. You shouldn't have that much of an advantage just for being short, at least in every workout. There's workouts where it's fine, but also it's cool to see someone like Hopper or Sprague or something be able to express their fitness that they have while being tall because it's not just a range of motion race. That's one form of programming that has shifted away from the Matt Fraser body type. And again, that's the reason that the bigger guys are on top. If we had workouts where it was 95-pound thrusters and everybody was going unbroken, you'd see guys like Hatfield and Medeiros, and these smaller guys or guys that look probably more like Matt Fraser would be at the top of the leaderboard. But again, over the last few years, we've just shifted towards heavier and slower and whatever programming in pretty much every aspect. On top of that, you've got machines. Now, another point of emphasis is, I mean, it's no secret that shorter guys tend to be better at gymnastics. One of the arguments that I think Fraser made in this is like the big guys have caught up in gymnastics. Over the years, Hopper or Sprague or these bigger guys have been able to catch up in terms of their efficiency and proficiency in gymnastics. Now, again, that may be a range of motion thing. It could be an efficiency thing. It could be a fact that we've maybe even gotten away from gymnastics being as dominant as they were. For example, let's take first cut from the 2019 CrossFit Games. If that were programmed today, it would probably be like a 205 snatch or 225 snatch instead of 185. And it would probably be like 2 legless rope climbs instead of 3. I think the idea in our head of a balanced test has kind of shifted over the last few years as people have gotten more strong and more proficient with barbells. We've kind of shifted in our mind what we think a legless rope climb and a snatch is equal to each other. Early on, it was more weighted towards the gymnastics, and now it's become more weighted towards the weightlifting and machines. But there's another portion with this gymnastics thing, and that is the gymnastics used to be new. If you don't know, Fraser is actually cracked at gymnastics. I've seen a video, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but he was in support on top of 2 boxes like this, and then he swung back and forth and did like a backflip off of the boxes. Like, Hopper's not doing that. I would imagine he's probably not doing that. So the fact is, like, what's high level gymnastics, the bar has been raised. Maybe that does speak to the fact that they're fitter now, but also we're not pushing the boundaries as much as we used to. Like, take the log muscle up from the Rogue Invitational as an example. Like, Hopper's not winning that. Hopper's not winning the log muscle up when it shows up. I bet you Fraser would be. And that's what I mean by, or the new guys have raised their minimum. But Fraser's ceiling on something like that was still so much higher. So again, if something higher level comes out, Fraser's going to win compared to Hopper because he's just better at gymnastics. Hopper has caught up in terms of what we see, the standard bar muscle ups, chest to bar. Maybe he's caught up in that. Hopper's just become serviceable enough to allow his other forms of fitness to express that. And he's just, best word I can think of is serviceable, whereas Fraser is actually a better gymnast. That's the difference between when Fraser was competing and now. And I'm not taking anything away from the top guys now. I'm just saying maybe the programming has changed just enough to allow for things to look a little bit different than they did in 18, 19, 20. But we know that Matt Fraser might have been a little bit better built for the past. Better built for a little bit more gymnastics heavy and a little bit lighter version and less machine dominant version of CrossFit. But how would he do with this current version? I figured the best way to do this would be to just go through the 2025 CrossFit Games events and see where we think Fraser would have landed and then see how his points would have looked at the end of the weekend. Event 1, run, row, run. There's a video of Chris Henshaw, Matt Fraser's running coach, saying that Matt Fraser, no matter how tired he is, could recover at a 6 minute per mile pace. I think Matt Fraser is probably, in today's field, still would have been a top 3 runner. So on this event 1, Adler was first, Karanikov was second, Ricky Garrard was third, Hatfield was fourth. I would imagine that Fraser would beat Hatfield. And so I'm going to go ahead and put him fourth behind Ricky Garrard. Event 2, all crossed up, pretty classic CrossFit, gymnastics, accuracy, good shoulders. I'm going to go ahead and put Matt second or third on this. I'll do third just because I told him I'm not going to give him anything, but Matt just had a better engine and was better. He was just better. Climbing couplet. He was the only person in 2018 to go unbroken for 5 pegboards at the beginning of the finale. So I would say he's probably pretty good at pegboards. I'll give him a 5th on this. Just behind Justin Medeiros. Albany grip trip, first place, easily. In fact, is this 5 rounds or 4 rounds? He could do an extra round and he probably still would have won this event. Yeah, first place. 1 rep max back squat. Matt Fraser actually did a 1 rep max back squat in 2020, his prime, at the games. 482 is what Matt Fraser hit at the 2020 CrossFit Games, which would have put him... Ooh, 16. That is a rough placement. Throttle up. This is pretty classic CrossFit, pretty burner. I don't think there's anybody that's better at burpees than Matt Fraser. I'm going to go ahead and give him a 5th, and I think that that's probably a pretty low placement. And I'll give him the same on the next one. Going dark. This one does have a lot of machine in it, but I don't think it mattered. Austin Hatfield won this event, and I think that Matt Fraser probably would have beat him pretty easily because Matt Fraser was the best at parallel handstand push-ups. So that's another first for Fraser. Running Isabel. This is a tough one because it was so unpredictable. It's like one mess up. You go a little too hot and you're done for. You go a little too slow and you're done for. This was the one we saw a bunch of failures on. I'm gonna go ahead and give him. He's definitely beating Callian Souza. He's definitely beating Nick Matthew. I'll give him 9th on this. And that's again probably being as negative as possible. Atlas. Yeah. Before Hopper even picks up the bar to start doing his lunges, Matt Fraser's gonna be done. That's a first for Fraser. Okay, I felt like I was being pretty realistic and as objective as I could, where I could. Matt Fraser would have won by almost 100 points in a 10 event. If you disagree with any of those, go ahead and put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your arguments, but I just think that this whole thing is a lot of recency bias. Now, I would love to reverse this. I think Fraser probably still would have won the games this year, and I would love to see what you guys think about the opposite. What if we plopped Hopper, the winner of the 2025 games, and plopped him into 2019? how would he have done? Do you think he would have won 2019? Now, there's a few things that I also think that we need to remember when it comes to this conversation. One, Matt Fraser was training for the way things were back then, not the way things were now. He was training for the way CrossFit was back then. Probably wasn't spending a whole lot of time on machines or worrying as much about machines or worrying as much about the heavier weights. He said in his interview that he only used to snatch like 3 times a year because he knew he was going to take top 5 in that event anyway. So yeah, maybe now he would have spent more time snatching, and instead of him snatching whatever 295, he'd be snatching 325 or 315 because again, he was training for the competition that he was facing. And then in Castro's interview, he goes on to say, well, the nice thing about CrossFit is it's so objective. You can just look at the numbers. And I completely agree. I would love to see the boys Interrupted go live and just over like 2 or 3 days do the 2020 online CrossFit Games. That was when Fraser was in his prime. I don't think we've ever seen better Fraser. It's good programming. Go ahead. I would love to see them just go live and do all 7 events. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think that the guys today are fitter than a prime Matt Fraser? Thanks for watching. Peace.